Perfect. So we are up and running. Apologies, I know we are a few minutes late, but we'll go ahead and get started with our April 14th, 2025 Facilities Committee meeting. Appreciate everyone being here this afternoon. Let's see, our agenda, pretty straightforward, normal facilities agenda. We're going to talk about capital improvement projects, review of property values, and some public comment. Any objections to our agenda this evening? Seeing none, we will move forward. I don't think we have any public per se, so therefore no public comment on agenda items. So I will turn it over to the district for an update on capital improvement projects.
Okay, so just a referendum projects update. I think everybody knows where we are with the ponds. I haven't heard any news since we met last Monday evening. The Sand Hill addition, I did get some update today. We did have some issues with some precast concrete deliveries. It was supposed to come in a couple of weeks ago. They had a production issue, but that's being delivered this week. And we're going to talk about how we recover from that delay on Wednesday when we meet for the OAC meeting out there. And then we have some strategies we can probably make up a week or two. That's not a big deal. Don't want to be behind schedule. But sometimes things happen that are out of our control. The Oak Brook Middle School addition is coming along well. They're putting foundations in. They're pouring concrete. They poured several sections of foundation last week. I think they're going to be pouring pretty much the rest of it this week. When they get through with the foundations at the middle school and the pad, we are in hopes of moving over to the elementary school site to start foundation, the building pad foundations and building and the slab on that part, on that addition. We've ran into some permitting issues. It's a little more entailed than what we had at the middle school, but I signed the final stormwater maintenance agreement on Friday. That was recorded this morning. That was the last piece of the puzzle. The civil engineers are taking that through this week, and hopefully we'll be putting silt fence in before Friday, so to keep everything on schedule there. As you can see, the completion dates are on those December of this year for middle school and February of next year for the elementary school. In the pipeline, we're still working on the Circle High School gym. We're that project we had first run at the budgetary construction number came in over our budgeted number, and we're going to massage the scope. We're going to massage the whole constructability of the building and see what we can come up with a design that can meet our needs and still fit within our means. That's an ongoing conversation. We'll pick that back up tomorrow. Ashley Ridge School Addition. We've got phase one, which is the partition walls in 2 classrooms. That's going to went to OSF, and our architect is in conversation with OSF, and hopefully that's usually considered a maintenance project when something like that, because the egresses are already in place. The fire alarm is already in place. It was meant to be 2 spaces anyway, and all missing is that partition wall. So hopefully they'll see things our way. We can get that knocked out early June and July on those 2 rooms, and move on to the next phase, which would be the band room. Somerville Elementary School addition, the design development, got a little update on that. We did get the design. The DDs are good with the OSF folks there, and we got construction document. They're developing those now. As soon as those go into OSF, it should be a pretty quick turnaround, because our design was well thought out and thoroughly beaten. So it's built on paper. We just got to get it through the proper channels. We're scheduled to meet with the Board of Architectural Review for that project on May 6th. That's exciting times there. And roofing exterior wall renovations. We got some, the construction documents on that and the procurement documents are all updated on that. We've got some bid dates. Those, we don't have the construction documents yet for the exterior wall renovations at Oak Brook Middle School. Those should be coming sometime by the end of the month. So within the next couple of weeks, we'll have that. Be putting that out to bid. And the roof section at Somerville Elementary School, that's forthcoming as well from REI.
Just a little update on the Somerville High School softball field press box. Still in the bid phase. About 8% funds. Right now, we're just waiting on some response from the A&E for that project. Other projects, the referendum 8% projects, HVAC replacements at Flowertown, Newington, Oak Brook Middle, and Somerville High School. I tried to put some pictures this time so we can actually see some of the work that's going on. Top left, it's Oak Brook Middle. We did a hood replacement over spring break. Full, complete change out, everything on top of the roof, everything underneath. See to the right, you see Flowertown's security vestibule installed. So that's done and in place. We also have Oak Books that got installed Monday. So it's done as well. The left-hand bottom, that's the all the ductwork above the weight room, locker rooms, gym at Somerville High School. So that all got changed out preemptive before we get the units in. The unit won't be in until end of May. So we want to have everything ready because we can just basically drop that unit in and be done. And the bottom right shows us doing a crane lift. We had 2 large fresh air units at Fort that have been down for about 6 years that we finally bring in place. So they're up and running as of now. What else do we have? We'll have some more pictures on the next slide, but just as a quick overview, we did do some security vestibules at Oak Brook, which I mentioned, and the flooring at Knightsville won't start until summer. This is kind of like a time lapse so you can see what we did over spring break at Austin Middle School. On the left-hand side, you see that they had removed the lockers, found some nice stuff from back in the 60s behind the lockers, like some ID cards and things like that. And then middle picture shows where we abated the asbestos floor tile that was underneath. And the right kind of shows what we ended up with, their paint scheme. That's obviously we repaired the tile since then, but that was the 3 shots I was able to grab from the contractor. The bottom left, as you see, is Austin as well. So we painted the actually the entire school, all the hallways, cafeteria, and the kitchen all was painted over spring break, and it did about 16 classrooms. So we're expecting to have that entire project done before we get to summer. They go for the weekends, they're going in every weekend, working until 3 or 4 in the morning, Friday night, Saturday night, and finishing up Sunday afternoon. So they're trying to get it done so they're out of there before we get to the summertime, because we obviously have a lot of stuff going on there in the summer that's on top of this stuff. You can see on the right, Knightsville shows where we pulled the transite panels out. And we got all the transite panels out in the hallway, and actually the entire school, all hallways are painted, multi-purpose rooms painted, and we have I think it's about 9 classrooms painted there. Same thing, expect to have all the painting done except for the doors and the door frames prior to summer. Didn't want to do that until we get our flooring installed so we don't take them up and mess them up. We'll do that at the end of summer. And then,
before you move on to that, do you know if the schools that are having all this major work done, if they're planning to have like an open house or something for their?
I haven't heard anything about that.
I think something like that might be good to show the community we are working, and also I think they would take more pride in seeing what's being done for their particular areas.
Some conversation with the principals about that soon. So obviously there's a lot of stuff coming down. We've got a door and hardware project for Austin Middle School that actually closes this Thursday. So hopefully we'll be in good shape to get that ordered and be able to install those this summer. We also have 2 of the ceiling grid and lighting projects that are in OSF's queue. They preliminary given some comments for Newington, so that one should be wrapped up with OSF approval probably by the end of next week. Flower Town should follow behind that, and then Beach Hill and Austin are in the queue as well. And that's all I really have on project updates right now, unless there's any specific things that anybody want to ask about.
I was telling Mr. Leeds, and so for everybody here, we of course finished our facility walkthroughs a couple weeks ago, was it a week or two ago? And so it's fantastic to see, like having walked through those schools not that long ago and then to see all that work happen. Is really impressive. So I just want to say thank you to.
It's quite a busy spring break.
I was gonna say something.
I think it was like 26 units put in total, district-wide. Flower Town and Newington are almost complete with their units. Not that we didn't have some growing things on that Monday, but you know, work through it all. We're in good shape, ready for summer.
Love it. I'll give everyone just a super quick update on the ponds. And, you know, of course, we had our meeting last week. We did a community information meeting last Monday. I think the turnout was okay for what we expected. I thought it was okay. Obviously a lot of media coverage, good media coverage, all that sort of stuff. Overall, the meeting went very well. I think we said what we needed to say. And got that information out to the community. Fast forward through the rest of last week and into today. I don't know if everybody's seen it, but Coulter penned a letter back to both the school district as well as the county. And I won't get into the feelings that the county specifically has about that letter. But I can tell you that they're not super happy about it. So where that goes, I don't know. I don't know if that's good, bad, or indifferent for us. But unfortunately, we are still in the middle. Here we are. So,
Give me some type of end plan if it does not work out, or how long do we continue? I mean, I'm new at it, so you explain, I don't know.
And so we've had some conversations, I think, to look at contingencies, other options, other planning options, kind of where do we go? Plan B, if you will. So I think we're still pushing forward with some of that.
We're in constant conversations with the folks in this room almost on daily, kicking around ideas, coming up with things, and you know, we're discussing, you know, existing sites, purchasing property, and how we can, you know, how we can seat as many students as we can with what we have, and what we can build where we property we already have. It's just a lot of tight stuff.
Would it be accurate to say that at this point, plan B is you're looking at ways to try and deal with still getting the property and still being able to move forward?
At the ponds?
Yeah.
We fully intend to build a school at the ponds
Right.
at some point.
That's plan B at this point. Plan A was, you know, started moving dirt a little while ago and we're on our way. We're not there. And so if that's our plan B, do we need to start thinking about having conversations about plan C? And when is that date that we should start thinking about plan C?
That's what we're talking about. That's what we're discussing, that, how we can build something somewhere just to alleviate the pressure from Beach Hill, Sand Hill, and accommodate kids in the ponds.
Yeah, the only, and you know, one thing we've talked about, one of the only positives are the timing, I would say, of the new classrooms at Sand Hill will definitely make a big impact. That will help. Does it fix it? No, absolutely.
Well, you have Sand Hill, Oak Brook, and Summer Elementary within, you know, a year. So between all of that, you're talking about almost between 30 and 40 classrooms. So seats are coming, and that's, you know, we're looking, fortunate. Ponds is always gonna, you know, that's gonna happen at some point in time, unless you guys tell us not to. But plan B is to continue to look for ways to increase seats if it's needed, and use our space and leadership
I guess I just want to know, is there a final point where we stop playing the game, whoever's playing the game, and we come up with another plan? I'm just asking.
You have any other plan?
I don't,
Yeah.
I mean, any other plan would, besides adding a wing, years away before we can put seats in place. So, adding, existing wings to our current properties is a faster, more reasonable.
Right.
If we get to that, right now, the way we're sitting and our current state with our, like I said, basically with the 30 to 40 classroom seats we're bringing on in the next year and a half, that should accommodate our growth. But, we still have to continue to plan for the future and as the, population is going to increase, Hans or another elementary school or another school will have to come in.
I'm not pushing for anything other than as long as we continue to play the game, apparently whoever has an ulterior motive, they're still doing whatever they're doing and we don't have anything to show for all the effort that we put forth. So they have to either come with something else, we go ahead and add on to what we have and make something else happen later.
Every avenue and looking to create more.
And that'll be something we'll do. We'll bring back to you some different ways, plans, and work with you on probably the next time we have facilities. Obviously our priority is the ponds, and then we can get that property now. What do we do next? So we'll bring that to you.
We've been in negotiation with Coulter and how long this was happening before I got on the board, I think.
Coulter took it over, 2013-ish? And then their development agreement has been a little bit ongoing, I would say, with different iterations of the development agreement between Coulter and the county.
So it keeps changing.
They changed it a couple times. So that's, I think, a lot of the issue.
I think the original development agreement is different than the one that currently exists today, which now allows them to hold the land until the final phase, if they want to. But they can turn it over anytime they want to, if they want to.
They also could choose to do phase 10 before 8, 9.
Oh, that's true.
Phase 10 is done and
True.
final plat is submitted, they have 30 days to turn over. So they could do 10 first, turn it over. So that they have
Or
options.
you could just turn it over without.
I think
Or
they
they
can turn it over today if we would take.
You don't know you're
Play
gonna,
ball.
I mean, it has nothing to do with us. And if the county doesn't get involved, they're not gonna turn it over. They have no room to. They're within their. I do have a question though. I know it's been a while and maybe you can answer, or I don't know who it's directed to, but we talked about getting a better assessment of those properties, an appraisal.
So,
Oh,
sorry.
I lied, just kidding. Wow.
Well done.
I thought you said we're done.
I interrupted, they were headed that
What a
way.
fantastic segue.
Well, before I get to that,
I didn't even read that.
it's gonna be part of the board presentation tonight, but Somerville High School tennis courts have been a topic of discussion. I didn't put it on this slide because I was gonna do it tonight, but I have some pictures of current condition of the tennis courts. We had initially set aside about $600,000 to do that complete rebuild of the courts. After discussing with the design firm, it looks like it's gonna be probably between 1.5 and $2 million, just because of all of the remediation you have to do for the wetlands. We have to turn the old tennis courts back into natural setting. We have to build ADA access. We have to, a lot of things, a new stormwater pond, because obviously when those courts were built, there was no stormwater requirements that there are now, we're not there. So it's gonna be quite pricey to actually do that. And we don't obviously have the money allocated right now. So we have a recommendation and a proposal to possibly just doing reseal, repair cracks and recoat for this year, which would get us 1 to 2 years of good playability. And so that's what we're gonna present tonight.
And also Fort Dorchester is in the same spot where they're not raised cracks, but they're cracks and it will become an issue. So, our recommendations would be is to reseal, repaint both courts so they're playable and then work on, the courts at Central High School and the lights for the other two schools.
So when you see the photos, they look way worse than they play, I guess you could say, because you could have cracks in it, and that's for learning all this, but you can have cracks, as long as they're not elevated, fine, but they look atrocious. Especially on some, something has to get done.
You know, you don't stop the water. And the same problem with Fort Dorchester's tennis court is the same problems we dealt with track. Yeah, that water and that campus rises, and when it does, they're kind of just gonna find a way through. And continue to.
Is there not any way to divert it so it's not like,
If you're at Fort Dorchester at the right time and there's king tide,
I don't mean for, I mean, I've been
you
away.
can see
from
the
that,
water
yeah.
come up through the cracks at king tide and cracks in the parking lot. That's, there's no getting away from that problem except tearing everything down, building it up 2 feet and starting over.
Oh, my gosh.
And I think when we first started this, when you're looking at 8% money and our money, these tennis courts really were not in the budget when we're looking at 8% money. So we kind of were able to carve out that 600,000. So we're looking at a 2 to 3 year process because that 8% money is kind of been spoken for. So again, if we could get 2 to 3 years out of this, you know, reworking, repair, that will allow our students to be able to play competitively there, and then looking at something, but those obstacles that we came through, stormwater and retention ponds, having to move those, that's kind of.
Not to mention, we're still in design. Design is not completed yet. We have to get design completed, then we have to get permitting, which is with this type of project, all the stormwater is gonna be. It'll be a process. So they're not even 100% sure we could even, if we got everything perfect, we could even execute and have it built before the season starts again almost. That's why the ceiling might be way better, yes, last time.
Permitting process would be no different than building anything else. Just from what permit.
Everybody good there? Moving on to property appraisals.
Yep, so we did get the appraisals done. It's pretty cut and dry. We basically about $1.5 million was what they appraised the 3 houses at. We have the specifics, but I didn't, just figure out doing an approximate. And then the Gum Street property came in at about $200,000. That's the property right by Spain, the ball field. The appraiser did not want to do anything, but I give Anthony, just said there were too many variables. The biggest thing being that if you, let's say you wanted to sell this property to be developed, you would need to clear it first. So you have to demo the building, demo this septic leach field, which can be done relatively easy, just going to cost. But there's not a lot of required after the fact stuff to be done. You just remove it and leave it as is. But that's going to cost money. And his point was that would probably outweigh the cost of the land. Because you're looking at, he said, best guess is maybe $30,000 an acre out there. You have 11 acres. So the cost to demo the building, move the leach field, it might cost you more than it's worth. So if you were going to sell it as just developable property, which it would be listed. He said you're not going to change the zoning, which is currently agricultural residential. He said you won't get zoning board to approve changing that. He doesn't think. Therefore, you probably look at it. That's the best case.
You can just sell
So
it.
he said you could. He can't give you an appraisal on it, but because it's so weird, it's just a weird property. He said his best recommendation would be to hire a commercial realtor, come up in our minds or figure out a number we want for it, list it and see what happens, see if somebody bites on it.
You could buy a school that floods.
In a leach field or near a leach field.
So it's basically just what it's worth for somebody to pay this.
Somebody might want it.
These are current values. Neighbor next door listed that house at 1.5 million, so that went off. There's values will probably increase. So houses not going to get less, so just those houses will continue paying value.
I guess the question is, what's the time frame there for us to, or for you guys to need an approval
On the properties.
on those top properties, I guess?
Thinking about
I don't, I mean,
We won't be able to move anyone that's currently located in those properties until we have somewhere else to move them. So that was gonna be kind of contingent upon if we were able to repurpose Span, which we weren't gonna be able to repurpose Span until we had funds. So we're kind of in a little holding pattern. So can't really get those folks out of the houses at this very second.
Why can't we repurpose
We can't.
sand into the ponds?
We can repurpose.
It's gonna.
But it's
Partially.
But it would be a
A double rezone,
double rezoning, wouldn't have to necessarily rezone the same kids, but it would be
rezoning.
rezoning going from Span to North Charleston and rezoning coming from, you know,
We
the
do that
Knightsville.
after Wigan, so.
So I'd say, so Somerville plays into that as well.
Especially in Somerville, that would be the most feasible opportunity to do that,
That's gonna.
or the earliest.
So it sounds like we've got a little bit of time. But I think we know the values and just think about it a little bit more as board members. And then I guess they probably should just come back to your facilities at some point in the next couple of months. And then if we decide as a committee to push it to the board, then we can.
And also, would you like us to go out, as Jeff said, you know, a commercial about the Gideon's property and have somebody look at that?
We can do that immediately.
Do that and get that information back.
That property, we don't wanna sell, because it costs us money, so the sooner we can get rid of that one or figure out what we're doing with that one. It's good.
Get you an idea about that.
Very good. Busy.
The only other thing I had, last meeting, was asked about a sort of like an overview dashboard. If you want to pass a copy of this around. I did something, just took a quick stab at it to see. That would be something that you all would be looking to look at for kind of a high level overview of facilities. It's like a one pager that would show kind of current things going on at the schools, and then at the bottom kind of shows you our work orders. Green represents all the work orders completed since this fiscal year, since July 1st. The red would show open work orders. Some of that stuff, you may have a work order that's in there that there's like, they're asking for, all their carpet to be replaced if you don't have funding. So some of those things sitting there for 6 months, a year, waiting on funding. So that's why some of your numbers skew, but right now you're looking at about 10 days as your average completion of work orders. Like I said, that's skewed a little bit by some crazy numbers out there, things that have put in. It sat there for a while, but it's kind of an overall and just looking for some feedback on if that's what you were looking for, or if you want to do something different with it.
I mean, I think this is helpful for sure. If we can add this to our monthly facilities meetings, I think it's beneficial for sure.
Would you want to just basically do a monthly update and not have a cumulative year update? Just show you what the work has been for like a rolling every month, basically.
Yeah, because once you see this kind of one.
Once you get to this point in the year, it's kind of, you've had so many work orders, it's kind of, the data's not going to be changing all the time.
Like you had mentioned some of them, but there's no budget or whatever. I don't think there's a way to discriminate between active work orders that you have and just gotta get the work
So
done.
what we're gonna, this is all showing open. So what we'll probably do is start doing something where we put those into a different category. They haven't been done that way, but I'll start putting them maybe waiting funding or deferred. And then we'll keep, maybe we can have a report on those things. That we're gonna pull it out of this list.
Well, I think that would be good too for the schools, right? Because then if the principal puts something in and they don't know why it's not getting done, they can just see like, okay, it's waiting funding, something like that.
It's some are waiting funding, some are waiting like the air conditioners, stuff like that take several months to come in. We may have the funding, we may have, paid the bill, but we're still waiting on arrival, but so it's still on.
No, I think that's great. Thank you.
From our facilities walkthrough, Beach Hill, did we ever resolve the the car rider lines between the two schools, sisters?
We're gonna have that conversation.
Oh. This one,
It is.
okay.
Good stuff. Anything else for the good of the group? Very good.
And I would say this, when we did our walkthrough, there are a number of schools that, it's not a want, they really need storage. It just. You're looking okay. They've done some creative things in order to.
Maybe some of their
Store?
items that they're storing,
I don't.
maybe some of the items they're storing don't need
think a purge would be a much better thing.
I'll let you deliver that. I'm not delivering that one.
That's, I know a lot of people hate to get rid of the, the 1970s textbooks and magazines because they use them for things, but and when it starts stacking to the ceiling.
But I mean, some of these were related to the office and not classrooms for teachers. I mean, we purged from time.
That one's every time. That was how you know how this filing.
Don't go. I finally went in my garage after 20 years and found still, but one day, because I was subbing, might use it. And so, I understand the need, but okay, that is when I'm having a general conversation, we'll tenderly suggest that.
They suggest they need storage. We always ask the question when the last time you had a mass purge, because, those 30-yard roll-offs, you can get a lot of storage out of those.
That's carried off.
Big trash can.
Love it. All right. We have nothing else, and we will close out our facilities meeting and head into our 6 o'clock board meeting. Thank you, everybody.